The Civil War is the deadliest war in American history, with an estimated 500,000 casualties. Ironically, without one shot being fired, we are nearing Civil War death numbers with 410,000 Americans projected to die by the end of this year from COVID-19. Sadly, although America has just 4% of the world's population, we have 25% of the world's COVID cases. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs because of COVID, causing them to lose health insurance and to struggle to buy food, pay rent, and keep up. It did not have to be this bad were it not for the failed leadership of Donald Trump. Our president has made decisions that are as lethal as multiple gunshot wounds in a war. First, he chose not to have a national strategy, but instead kicked the can down to governors. Then he ignored the 70-page game plan for how to handle a pandemic, only because it was handed to him by officials of the Obama administration. His insecurity has ruled in his decisions rather than the security of the people. Citizens are suffering now and want to know, when will this all end? When will we stop receiving contradictory messages that cause us to be bounced around like objects rather than people? As you prepare to vote on November 3rd, we want you to remember this war, not as one started by gunfire, but a war caused by negligence. Listen now to the voices of your neighbors.
I've had some tough times with this coronavirus. I've had some serious health challenges this year. And I couldn't see my doctor face to face for a real checkup. I've seen other people with problems all around me. Those who don't have real job skills can't even get a job at all. And people who are renting or own property can't pay their rent or mortgages. I really thought that in spite of it all, we would get through this. But our president, he doesn't give us any hope or any competent leadership.
I have two friends who I really care about who would die if they got COVID-19 or be killed by people who don't want to wear a mask because the president doesn't wear a mask and the governor of Missouri doesn't mandate masks. One of my friends has diabetes and the other has an immune deficiency. My father's a Republican who owns a manufacturing business, so I very carefully asked him, "Dad, if you had a manager who didn't care about the safety of those he supervised and many suffered as a result, what would you do?" He was reading his newspaper, looked up at me, and said, "I would fire him and get someone who did care. The safety of your workers is very important." You can imagine how the rest of that conversation went.
Earlier this year, I was in the hospital when I first heard about COVID-19. And President Trump said that we had it under control, that when the weather gets warmer in April, that it would just disappear because warm weather has a negative effect on the virus. Well, I really did want to believe him, but he's lied so much that I knew I had to do my own research. He lied. So I decided to stop watching the daily briefs and started praying that our president would listen to our scientists and let them take control of the lead. Recently I read that President Trump actually admitted on tape that he had downplayed the seriousness of the virus, and it caused tens of thousands of American citizens to die because of the virus. You know, this reminds me of the slave owners when they would hire preachers to preach a sermon to the slaves on Sunday, a sermon of peace. And on Monday, they would sell the babies out from under the arms of their mothers. This president doesn't care about us at all. You better believe that if I have who's a walker, I will be at the polls to bring some sanity to the White House and to me.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection?
I have lived in St. Louis for over 22 years and I'm proud to work in the healthcare industry here. This is a community that respects its healthcare professionals and understands the enormous contribution made by the scientists here. Perhaps it's because of the wonderful universities and the nationally renowned hospitals that we have here. The President of the United States does not believe in science and has demonstrated his incapacity to lead this country during this global pandemic. If he had taken responsibility early on, we would not be here with the highest number of record deaths in the world. I believe the person who leads this nation should believe in science and let the scientists do their job. When looking at the life experiences of Joe Biden and his work with scientists, I know he has the leadership we need right now. I trust him and I believe that Kamala will provide the right balance with her knowledge, education, and determination.
Today, I want to talk about one thing, very straightforward. It doesn't have anything to do with Democrats, Republicans, or independents. It has to do with a simple proposition. Every single American should be wearing a mask when they're outside for the next 3 months at a minimum. Every governor should mandate mandatory mask wearing. The estimates by the experts are it will save over 40,000 lives.
The example set by the leader of a country has a profound effect on citizens. That effect may be positive or it may be harmful. Recently at the Rose Garden, Donald Trump celebrated the nomination of Judge Barrett. He opened his speech there with the words, "I stand before you today to fulfill one of my highest and most important duties." Little did those attending know that he stood before them likely already infected with the COVID virus. Following the president's lead, most did not have on masks, and it turns out that his standing before them has caused a firestorm of infection with 34 people affected, including high-level officials, staffers, and guests. On another note, you will be happy to know that Lydia's father, a business owner and Republican, has decided to listen to his wise daughter and vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. All because Lydia asked him the question, "What would you do if one of your managers didn't look out for the safety of your employees?" Lydia reminds us that as citizens, we have the opportunity on November 3rd to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, two leaders who know what it means to set an example, but also to keep citizens safe.